Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Gowling WLG Language of Leadership podcast. I'm Ayo Akinwolere. I'm a broadcaster, changemaker, and a world record swimmer. And in this series, we're discussing what sports leaders can teach businesses about the science and art of getting the most from their teams and organizations. Gowling WLG has worked with my co-host Charlie Unwin, a sports performance psychologist, to analyse the language used by elite individuals in sport and business, and developed 6 lessons for business leaders to take from the world of sport. In this podcast, we'll be talking about creating a culture of mutual respect, looking at the importance sports leaders place on this to build a foundation of accountability and trust. And I'm also delighted to welcome today's guest, a man who literally had this incredible medal haul from the Tokyo Olympics, 2 golds and a silver. And we can't even begin to talk about all his other accolades. We're glad to have swimmer James Guy with us. James, so good to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, do you like that intro?
Oh, it was very, very nice.
Well, Charlie, then, let's dig into this. Let's talk about creating a culture of mutual respect. What does that mean to you in terms of leadership?
Well, sports leaders not only, I think, heavily rely on being respected, but they've got to engender a culture of respect across the team. I think if they don't do this, then we struggle with trusts, struggle with getting people to push themselves to the limits, which, of course, in sport is essential. But also just adopting new ideas. You know, people aren't going to do that unless they have a respect for one another's ideas and who they are and their skills. And probably along with loads of other things that are important to high performance. So this is a really important subject.
Yeah, James, let's take that into the world of sport. I know you're a team member of a relay team, for instance. That sense of mutual respect to get the best out of yourself. How do you think that manifests itself in your space?
I think generally across the board, having respect for one of each other is really, really important. So, for example, obviously being at the Tokyo Olympics this year, being part of a team, we know who the 4 guys are going to be in the final. And it's about, I've known these people for a long time. I completely can, hand on my heart, say, I know they're not going to mess it up. They're going to do their part of the process. And I respect what they do. We are completely different athletes, but together we come as one. And I think when we're together as a team, I know, for example, Duncan Scott, when we were leading on the last part of the race and he was going to hand it over and do the final leg, I have 100% trust and respect in him that he's going to do his part for the team, and it's already over. We knew as a team, walking into that final, the race was already over. It was ours for the taking, but it's allowing the trust in each other to do their part, to not panic if something goes wrong, do your bit for the team, and we'll get it right towards the end.
What about when it goes wrong, like in terms of accountability? I'm interested in that as well. Like, you know, obviously you guys are the best of the best, otherwise, you know, won't be in that relay team. Yeah. But sometimes someone might have a bit of a dud leg.
Of course.
How much is ownership of that? Important is ownership of that?
Sometimes that can happen, you know, for especially even in the games. It was Tom Dean who just won the individual gold, and he's my training partner. We're good friends, and he was the first to lead off the relay, thinking, yeah, this is going to be great. Dino's going to smash it. Thinking, oh, he looks a bit tired here. Thinking, oh no, come on, Dino, keep going. So obviously that was a bit of a shock to us, thinking we thought we'd be leading off from the first leg, and we weren't. We were 3rd or 4th. And in them situations, you know, he knew he was tired, and because of what he's done, we look back and think, yeah, it was, you know, sort of his kind of part of being tired that we were a bit of just off the world record, and we can change that. That's fine. But at the end of the day, we knew that it's his fault. He can take responsorship of that and own that. Kind of, it was up to him. But we don't panic. We blame each other. We don't blame it on him. It's that kind of phrase of coulda, woulda, shoulda. We could have done this, changed this, but we didn't. At the end of the day, we still won. But there was always looking for ways to improve on what we can do. And I think we learn, we move it forward, but we don't allow mistakes to happen twice.
Yeah, what about creating that foundation?
Yeah, I mean, because creating the foundation, I'm almost interested to know how much is it time spent with each other that builds that respect, and how much, or do you actually go out of your way to consciously get to know each other out of the pool, you know, as people, in order to build that respect?
Yeah, of course. I think that's really important. I think one thing that we do quite a lot is obviously we're in the same pool, same people all the time. to kind of become friends properly, you have to get away from that and do your own thing. So myself and Tom, we play a lot of golf. I've known Adam Peaty since we were 16, Duncan since we were 16, raced together for a long time, and we're actually all really good friends. And I think that's one thing that we've got a lot compared to many other countries. We're quite a small nation compared to the likes of the USA. It's absolutely massive. Yeah, as I said before, myself and Tom, we do our own thing, but we talk now and again about life things, not about swimming all the time. You can't have that swimming conversation 24/7. You've got to think about other things, for example, cars or going away with the girlfriends and trying to do a dinner together, double date and have a laugh. And one thing that's really important is to be able to switch off from that and go away from the pool, which is great. We train together, we work hard together, but doing something different. And that's really important, having that kind of equal lifestyle and balance of turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. And that's where you have that kind of laugh outside the pool as well. You go into work mode and we get competitive, but then you turn it off again. I think that's just the kind of naturally way we are. But that comes across with experience. And, I remember when I was a youngster, I would never do that. I would never go out for a coffee with the guys. So just do my own thing. Where now, we're on the same team. Everyone's there with the same goal of wanting to swim fast and do the same thing, but you can't just think about swimming all the time. You've got to get away of doing something else, and my way of escape is kind of golfing, really, and just doing my own thing.
Something I was thinking about in terms of leadership, and especially building that sort of foundation and building a team, is how aware do you think coaches are and business leaders are when they do build their team? If we talk about your relay team, for instance, do you think coaches are thinking, actually, I'll put this lot together because I feel like they've got a very similar energy amongst them? Because you hear about this in football teams when they go, I need certain people in the changing room to make sure this team bonds together. Otherwise, without them, everyone's just a group of individuals, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like even in like the prep area. So where the Olympic team were in Tokyo, we had our own little space, we had our tunes going, and our S&C guy, Rob Norman, who's based in Loughborough, he provides the energy. So we come in, it's loud, it's noisy, everyone's vibing off each other, it's fun, and it's making that enjoyable. And especially for part of any team events, we all want to swim fast, we all want to win, we all want to do well. And it's trusting each other in the process to do their own thing. But even before the 4x2 relay, we're there chatting away, talking about the in-betweeners. We're talking about lines in-betweeners. I would have never thought
that would have come up in conversation.
The Olympic final, we're walking out talking about the in-betweeners. We're there giggling. That's the kind of level of friendship we're on at this point. So to be able to do that, where my first games, I was there, really, really nervous, not really enjoying it. But this time, completely different, talking about Jay Cartwright from the In-Betweeners. So that's what it's kind of like, that's where we've come from. And it's not about where you start, it's where you finish.
Charlie, for leaders, that's quite an interesting one, isn't it? And how you build your team in terms of accountability, but creating a foundation that's both supportive and able to open itself to accountability, but not detrimental to the progress and productivity.
Yeah, and for me, what James describes there, that's probably an outcome rather than input. It's an outcome of something else being done well. And what is that something else? One key thing, that there's one implication here that we shouldn't take for granted, and that is that you guys valued the success that the others had. In other words, you weren't being competitive with each other. You were being what businesses would describe more as collaborative. You were helping. All ships rise in a high tide. And this is a mindset that I think leaders have to get right first and foremost if they're going to engender this respect. Because the moment things become over-competitive, it's either you or I who are going to succeed, you lower the bar for the team and what they're capable of. Whereas clearly high performance, as James describes it, it's coming from actually being greater than the sum of its parts. The team is elevating you as an individual to a high level.
Of course. And I think that's one thing that we've learned across the years, is that we all want to do well together, and we just want to swim fast. And it's great to see the main event for us at any trials or competition is the 200 freestyle. It's the last race. Everyone wants to be part of the 4x2 freestyle relay. And when you're part of that, it's kind of we've called it the brotherhood, the fearless brotherhood. That's what we described our boys' relays this year. And when you're part of that, it's something that's renowned for doing well. It's always going to win a medal at a major competition, because we've just changed that ethos of the last 10 years of being on that relay. And it's like, for example, when we were there in the games, and it's the 4x2 freestyle relay day, we'd go to breakfast together, we'd do warm up together. We'd stick as a team, go in the same lane as each other. We all want to do well. And do you want anything, pal? How's everything going? Have a laugh before we get in. And I think because we do a lot of events together in the UK, we do camp events where you look at other teams, and obviously they're so big, and there's new people coming through all the time, where we've been around for a long time. I've known people for 10 years. We're friends, we want to swim fast, and we want to win. And I want to help you, and we bounce each other like off our energy. So I could come into this room today, talking to you guys, I can feed off your energy. And you're in the pool, and people swimming fast, and you thrive off that. You want a piece of that pie. And that's the way it works. And these done well, right, let's get after it tomorrow, boys. Can't wait. I'll do my bit. And it's just like, we're never going to point fingers at anyone, because we know we're always going to give 100% to each other. And that's the way we're kind of known for.
It is a really high-octane environment, isn't it?
It is.
I loved watching it in Tokyo, because it just, you were there, I mean, even at odd times of day, when we ended up watching at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you were there kind of buzzing and jumping up and down, and it kind of made you want to be there.
Oh, huge. But I was just trying to pick out something you said there, actually, about, I want to make sure I do a good swim with the boys. They're all doing well. We're all doing collectively. Something we've touched on a few times on this podcast is individual responsibility as well, right?
Yeah.
You want to be the best of the best, right? You want to be part of this incredible team. How much do you think, you know what, I'm going to go out and I don't want to let these boys down?
I think for me, that's just a natural instinct. It's always been there for me it's for the lads. And I think I'd never want to be known for, you've let the team down today. And that'd be really hard on me. And I feel like, because I'm one of the oldest now, being that young lad from 2013, almost 10 years ago, where now I'm kind of one of the veterans on the team with a lot of experience, walking out to an Olympic final now, I'm not really fazed by it, where someone like Matt, for example, it's his first ever major meet, first ever big final, he's there kind of shaking and said, listen, we've done this 1,000 times before, don't even think about anything, just go and enjoy yourself. You're on telly. Olympic Games.
You're on telly.
Enjoy yourself, man, just be happy. Yeah. But for me, it's just like, I think like being part of that team, I'm the veteran, I'm the leader, and the boys can look up to me for a little bit, because I was the guy who kind of changed the way of that relay. I kind of brought it back again really a long time ago. And I think being part of that is my job, to make sure everything's all right. It's like having a house party. You're in charge. You make sure everyone's having a good time. And I think that's just the way some teams work.
So my assumption is that culture hasn't just materialised from nowhere. You've probably benefited from those just ahead of you.
Yeah.
In saying you have permission to enjoy yourself. You have permission to do these things.
Yeah.
And that's probably been set by the leaders.
Yeah.
What kind of things has your coach done, as an example, and maybe not just your coach, but performance managers, other people who are involved in creating this culture? What kind of things have they done to kind of build respect? And are there any examples of where perhaps your coach has tried to adopt new ideas and has been worried about whether you'll kind of, buy into this new idea?
Yeah.
Where actually respect for him has been really important.
Yeah, I think one thing where I changed coach into Tokyo 2020, and obviously I had 2021 as well. And for me, it was believing in the process of doing something for so long. Do I believe what we're doing is going to work? And joining a new coach and going head to head with Tom Dean all the time, before we were like just kind of bashing heads quite a bit, very, very competitive. And if we get it, and he said to me, if you both get it right and accept sometimes he's going to win and you're going to win, it'll work really, really well. 2 years down the line, we've both got what we wanted in the pool. He's swimming fast, I'm swimming fast, we're great friends, and we believed in, okay, this is going to happen. And we've just, I remember even talking about this before Tokyo, we dreamt of this is going to happen. I remember after the relay, I said, mate, we've done it. We said this in the pool, going head to head all the time, working together, being good teammates and friends, helping each other, which is what we do. Sometimes I'm down, he'll pull me through. Sometimes he's down, I'll pull him through, whatever it is. We want to help each other. And that's kind of being part of a team. We want to push each other, especially if we're going to go in this together as two lads, working together, good training partners, good mates. And that's one thing that I think we believed in Dave, and it worked. His ethos behind that of, let's get James Guy and Tom Dean on the key sets, going head to head, let's get them working together, and then turn it off when you need to. And going into Tokyo, we knew when we went over there on the flight over, and the training camp before, where you settle into the team, you're kind of getting into the changing of the diet, and we were there about 2 weeks before, and we knew it was already over. We knew we were going to swim fast, we were happy, we were enjoying what we were doing, and for us it's just, right, we can do our part, can you do yours? And we knew we were going to do it, just kind of getting the medal now.
I always think about people in sport. I guess if you're in a relay team, that's a team activity. I'm thinking about the greats like Roger Federer, Nadal. Is it possible to mutually respect someone that's like much better than you, or someone you definitely want to beat?
I think so. I think maybe that's kind of. I mean, look at Michael Phelps, and it's just like the greatest Olympian of all time, and all your greats, your Jordans, and all these kind of people. Your Floyd Mayweather's, just the stats they've done across their years. I think at some point they're going to say on that day, this guy was better than me. And that's the way sometimes it is. I mean, for example, the 200 freestyle final, Duncan Scott, great friend of mine, really, really like him. He was the favourite to win. And on that day, Tom Dean was the better man. But then we still say, is Duncan still the better swimmer on the 200 freestyler? Probably, but on that day, Tom Dean beat him. And that's the way sometimes actually on that day he was the better man. And that's all it is. It's nothing personal. There's nothing behind it. But sometimes you say, you know what, fair play, mate. You got it. And that's what it's about, is having that mutual respect. But then when you do that individual separately, then come together as a team and you want to do well together, it's a different feeling. When you've got your team on your back and your whole country behind you, this is for the team of everyone behind you, you want to do well, and it's a different added kind of a fun pressure where you're hunting people down or you're chasing people, and that's why I like it. I think that's why most people like it.
So is there an idea then, even within business and also within sport, mutual respect requires humility fundamentally?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I think respect is it's a very open quality. That the moment we respect the person in front of us, we're open to observing, to listening. And listening's a really, if there's one skill that leaders need to engender respect, it's listening, right? If you want to command the respect of your troops in the military, you've got to know them, you've got to understand them, which means you've got to spend time listening to them. You might not always like what you hear, that's the other thing. But it's not the point. You're not there to judge them in listening to them. One of my favourite quotes from Stephen Covey's book is, first seek to understand before being understood. And I think great coaches, they spend time listening. We were chatting before the podcast about on poolside. Yeah. Do you want to describe some of the conversations your coach might have?
So I was saying before, like, the years have gone on and the sporting world's changed. Usually in the swimming world, it used to be you get in, you blast your session, you go home. Where now our coach will tell us why we're doing it, what we're here for, what part of the cycle we're in, what the session is, what we're trying to get out of the session, what meet's coming up, when we're going away. And sometimes it can be like, it's been half an hour talking, but that's the way it's changed. It's about why we're doing it, remember what we're doing it for, why are we doing this session. Have every session behind you with a purpose. There's 3 weeks until we start resting down for the World Championships. Oh God, that's not much time really. So it's kind of changed in that respect of it's listening to what he has to say. And another example is, I'm one of the oldest in the Bath National Centre, and you've got these young lads coming through, and I'll always talk to them about giving them advice. I said, come off the wall, I'll look at him and think, you can change that. I said, pull him up, to change that, change this. How does that feel? How does this feel? And I feel like sometimes it's my responsibility, even in the gym, if someone's struggling to do a chin-up, you help them up a little bit, and you're kind of giving back to them because they respect you for what you've done. And one of the lads said to me a few days ago, said, you've been around for a long time. Do you think you're one of the Britain's best ever on the team? I went, I think so, yeah, because of how long I've been doing the sport, my diversity of what I've been doing. And they know that. I don't have to tell them that. But when I'm giving them advice, they listen. I said to one of the lads, I said, Jono, why don't you try fasting before you swim? You'll kind of, your metabolism won't kick in or whatever, just trying to cut a bit of weight down. He went, okay, I'll try that. I said, one of the lads said to him, I told him that to do that weeks ago, but now you've told him to do it. It's different. Yeah. And now he's tried it. So it's that respect of, I've been around for a long time, and when I'm talking to someone about the sport, they're going to listen to me. I know what I'm talking about, and it's nice to have that, like this, just go on, look at me.
But you could flip that, because there are lots of people in business who have been around a long time, and they're reliant on experience and years in the job to elevate them to position of leader. But when they talk, people don't always listen. Not because they're not experienced, but because they don't communicate in a way that's conducive. They're not respected in that way. So as well as you being experienced, I sense just from chatting to you that you're also, someone who is very human. You connect.
Yes.
And that's so important, isn't it, for respect? In fact, because I was going to ask you about what it's like to be a junior member of the squad coming in, because one of the areas that I think is an acid test for respect in business is how new people are introduced to teams.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's so important because that's the building blocks of how we behave together.
Of course.
And
and has that changed over the years as well? Because I remember
initiations.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, because if we can use the analogy of playing football, what used to be was that you come in, you do initiation, whatever, and then you're like, well, you make the team, you're part of the boys now. Yeah. But actually, a lot of the younger lads are like, I'm not into this.
No, it's
not how I work, right?
Changed.
Yeah.
No, like I was just saying, my first ever senior team was the 2013 World Championships, and that was in Barcelona. And I didn't make London. I was the youngest there. And these guys they've made the teams before for the last 6 or 7 years. Michael Jameson just won silver in London. He's probably the best in the team right now. And I'm like, I like this guy. I want to be like him. And that's what you look up to because you're the youngest there. And you think, but I remember getting to the airport, my dad dropping me off and being with these people I'd never spoke to before. And this young lad who's doing well at the minute. And I've qualified. And I'm like, how do you conduct yourself in this? So you kind of keep yourself to yourself. And you kind of gain respect by what you do and how you do it. And my event, I qualified for the final on the 400 freestyle in lane 8. Bearing in mind, this is my first ever team, hadn't done anything before. No one's ever heard of me. And I thought, you know what, tonight I'm just going to try and break them. I don't care who they are. When it's in the pool, it's game on. And I led to the first 50. I led to the halfway on the 200 under world record speed. And I got beat by the current Olympic champion, silver medalist and the bronze medalist, and I came 5th. And because of that swim, people try and talk to you and say, oh, Michael, how was that, mate? Great swim. I think for him to do that to me, that was quite nice. And to hear that and saying, actually, Dave, I want to come to Bath for a bit of a trial. He said, mate, come whenever you want. So they see what you're like as an athlete. And because you commit yourself and you're a grafter and you work hard and you've done well, it's kind of keeping yourself to yourself. And actually, he's actually a really nice lad. That's where the kind of respect comes from, where that's the kind of young lad coming to the team, where now it's kind of changed where obviously there was initiations, you have to do these things with people, it's a big laugh, and it's completely changed now where now I could be getting into different groups and just talk to people and to see what it's about. And it's the whole ethos has changed where it's obviously times have moved on. This is almost 10 years ago. This is my 6th World Championships now. And I'm just like, it's just another world where like people used to their first World Championships, they're like, they're shaking. And I said, that just comes with a wealth of experience. But I think this is a lot of people this year, it's their first time making the Worlds. But I'm not sure what happens when we get their initiations. We might do one last time. But it's just times have changed. It's forgotten about now. It really has. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that, Charlie, especially for leaders to think, especially when a new crop of people are coming into the environment. What if certain people don't fit that working environment, but are they still viable? Can they still gain respect? And how aware should leaders be of that?
There's a massive drive towards inclusivity at the moment. And I think respect and inclusivity absolutely go hand in hand. And again, it sort of comes to this idea of why have you brought someone into your team? You've got to know, you've got to understand. And if you're struggling with that question when they're being brought in, I would sort of question the recruitment process almost. And companies are recognizing that being very values-based is important because, swimming is a very particular activity and it's very easy to identify. I say it's easy to identify, but it's easier to identify the talent that's likely to be successful in that. Business, it's a very open thing. They're multidisciplined athletes in business. So everyone's a multidisciplined athlete. So it's not as clear cut, you're going to be good, you're not going to be good. So it becomes much more about values, behaviors. And that's where I think there's a real benefit to thinking about values and respect. And as James said, it's not just what we do, it's how we do it. And if you buy into what we're doing, then that's great. I live in Nailsworth in Gloucestershire, and Forest Green Rovers are our local football team. They've become famous, I suppose.
And
Not only have they been promoted into League One, but also they are the first carbon neutral football team in the world. They are all vegans.
Wow.
They adopt a completely different philosophy. They refuse to be sponsored by the big names who might not have the sort of same ethical credentials.
Yeah.
And so bringing athletes into that environment, it's kind of saying it's all very well being able to afford good players, but actually what you're saying is you've got to believe in what we're doing.
Values, yeah.
And if you do, and it will be a real test of whether you do, then you are going to be massively welcome here, and we will, respect you 100%. And just linking that, because there's an important point here for businesses about having that respect internally and how it leaks externally. So for businesses, there's a clear evidence to show that where respect is had within the business, i.e. between employees, that is demonstrated towards clients, customers as well. And so it has this sort of much grander effect.
It feeds off, doesn't it?
It does.
It feeds off.
Yeah. And that, I guess, in your world, James, that was seen at London 2012, right?
Yeah.
Because the volunteers and all the people around the game,
reverberated
they were
across
so
the entire
well
game.
respected, weren't they? And people loved them and went up to talk to them.
Yeah.
That's a function of what you guys were doing internally, I would suggest.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. But just off like the sporting minute, I know a guy, and he said to me that the business is flying. It's the best the sales ever had in the last year across Europe by a country mile. And he said, mate, my team are just fantastic. He said what they do together internally creates obviously, like I said a bit before, it feeds off to people outside the business. People come back because the customer service is so good. I bought a car off him, then became friends with him. I go and see him. I've sold him 3 other cars to other people, and it feeds off with other people. And I think because their team inside is so good, it externally feeds off to other people and obviously the consumers. And that's why businesses like that, when they've got a good team inside them and they've got a good commander and lead, they do so well.
There's this idea that to command respect, you've got to be bigger and outwardly. But for me, it's about that human connection for me. And the leaders, you know the people, you know the coaches that have just, they're good at what they do. But it's that personal connection they have with you that really reverberates. And you want to work for them. Yeah. You want to do something for them because you're like, oh, I don't want to let him down. What a legend, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think just like even you said there, it's not about being this loud, massive person. It's just, you know who you are. You know what he's done. You want to work for him. You can see all his stats here. You don't have to say anything to him. He doesn't have to tell you what he's done. You let the business do the talking, and that's where I think that's where a massive respect comes in. You could say, you could search James Guy or Adam Peaty or Usain Bolt, thinking, and he's over there, sat there, and you're with him on the team. You don't have to say, mate, oh my God. It's like, let's get after it. Yeah. You don't have to, look up, like suck up to him or just, you want to be, just look up. I've always been told to be around people who are better than you so you can learn from them, and you want to be around that positive energy. And I've always said, if you think negative things will happen. Positive things will happen. And that's the way I've always kind of gone about things and looked up to things. But yeah, like you said before, it's about, you don't have to be this massive person and this humongous thing and loud. It's just being who you are, but bearing in the back of your mind, you know what they've done, and that's what I think that's really cool and important.
Yeah, I think that's a really good take from your perspective in terms of a lesson from this entire conversation. One from you, just one overriding message.
Yeah, I think you got to be proactive about it. It's not going to happen on its own. I think that's the key thing, and there's been some fantastic nuggets in here to help you with that, but. Be proactive, make it happen, have a strategy for building respect and the team and the energy you want from that team.
Yeah, gentlemen, absolute pleasure. Oh, can we just keep going? Just keep rolling.
Please.
Honestly, but seriously, that was really great food for thought as well. And James, thanks so much for coming down.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.